thunderstorms, including the potential for a few of these to produce severe weather. Um, we've kind of had them intermittently throughout the last couple of hours. The zone we're watching most closely at this point here is down, as you can see there, south of Louisville in Winston County, one of the storms of kind of greatest interest. There's at least been some broad rotation on it since it first started to pop up. It's along kind of a boundary down there, a warm frontal boundary that's kind of the focal point for some of this like lead development there. You can see on the wider shot, we do have severe thunderstorm warnings for Montgomery and Atala counties as well. So on the map, it actually looks like it's all of those counties, and it is. But we're in particular looking at the ones around Louisville for a little bit more rotation. That main line back behind is probably more straight line winds. Um, in either case, obviously something that's bears some paying attention to. Not everybody's going to experience active weather today related. In fact, I think a lot of us probably will not. But obviously, there's this corridor that we're watching the most closely here. I'm try to angle this a little bit more while I kind of move back over into position here for a moment. Um, so where we're concentrating on this again is the storms. I want to show you on the loop here. I think it does a better job of showing this closer to like Noxapater. See how these have just kind of slanted, like they're going a little bit more south and east. I guess getting my reverse direction here better. A little more south and east. Um, that shows that this has strengthened enough, got tall enough, probably producing at least some hail, damaging winds. And again, that broad rotation, something we're monitoring as well, is shown near Plattsburgh at this time. Um, you can just kind of see that there, south of 395, the zone that we're kind of looking at that, near Mississippi Highway 15, southern Winston County, kind of the spot that's, I mean, you can see there's been kind of scan to scan, some rotation on that for a little while here. So I don't know if that's going to necessarily produce a tornado. It's kind of in the limited zone where that becomes a possibility. On the much wider shot here, as you can see, only yellow boxes, only severe thunderstorm warnings to this point. Um, I was reading something else. My chat with the National Weather Service is a little behind over here, so give me a moment to make this catch up because I saw something that caught my interest there. There we are. That's all caught up. Um, so let's get kind of first off a storm track on this one back here south of Noxapater. Again, I think the most intense part, you see that flashing there. The most intense part is really south of Noxapater and Nanawaya kind of moving toward the south and east. So just kind of generally tracking that. Not a particularly fast mover. Let's double check the speed. I mean, I wouldn't put it super fast at all. This one's probably more like 25 to maybe 30. That might be overdoing it. Yeah, yeah, okay, I can see 30 miles per hour. Weather Service has it going 30. Okay, that seems reasonable. So let's get that speed down to 30 on this here. From closer to Nanawai, the Stallo there, moving south and east. This is kind of the angle. So again, while it's really close there to Louisville, Claytown, Burnside, Nanawai, all more than the zone there. Nanawai in particular, I know we have quite a few viewers down there. We're looking 3:33 for you, current time, as I think I can make it clear off that. Nope, I don't have to take it all off at the same time. Um, yeah, current time's 27 after, so about 6 minutes or so, Nanawaya. Obviously, I think the strongest portion is just a little bit to the south of Louisville, closer to Noxapater and Stallo at this time. Looking at the other portion of this, again, a severe thunderstorm warning that's been issued there for Montgomery as well as Atala counties. And again, all this kind of stuff popping up in advance is close to our warm frontal boundary that just kind of sits there. There we are. The warm front, or hold on, let's clear that off. Somewhere in this zone here, I might be a county off on that, but you get the general sense on about where it is. And so these storms are kind of going up on that. And so any of the storms that kind of attach that boundary have a little extra spin, and that's where that limited tornado threat comes from. And so even those storms down there, southern Montgomery County are on that. They just have a ways to go before they would strengthen enough to produce something more significant. And of course, we always use that lightning as a way to kind of hone in on some of the most interesting, unfortunately, interesting sections of the line. So let's track again, most intense part. And I don't see a super organized wind signature on some of these. They just have been part of a traditional band of storms that have produced damage back farther to the north and west. And so, yeah, I'm just kind of putting on all my reports here for a moment. You can see how this band was a lot more effective at producing wind when it was back out into Oklahoma, right? Or at least part of this was. It was actually technically a different one. Either way, tracking the wind on this. See, that's moving faster. Let's double check the speed. Yeah, see that batch there's considerably faster. Yeah, about 40 miles per hour on that. So 40 miles an hour. There you go. We'll get back the latest scans. So there you are. So Belzona, we showed at 407, Greenwood 401. We're looking there. Let's see, that doesn't have a whole lot of folks in my. Oh, but I was, stop a second here. I was tracking it from its original spot. Y'all, because I dragged it back behind. Let's get it right. There's some updated times. Ooh, that seems a little off. So Winona, we're looking at 341 for you. Kosciuszko 425, Ackerman 433, Louisville about 454 there. And again, this is another one upstream that we're tracking for some of these spots there. Center Ridge at 458. Brooksville and Macon, again, there's storms that are closer, but that's the time frame when these are going to be kind of heading your way. So you can see some times there on your screen. Go ahead and pull those off for a moment. Northern part of this is infinitely less impressive. Still could have, again, some gusty winds. That one near Red Bay is a little bit stronger. Do show a little bit of an outflow boundary running ahead of it, with some of the rain-cooled air there. Okay. This one, I wouldn't be at all shocked if this also had maybe some stronger wind gusts with it as well. I'll give a quick track. It is moving out of the WTVA 9 News viewing area. So show Hackleburg at 345 there, Hodges at 333, Pig Eye at 335, and Duke did at 339. Some gusty winds with this. Could potentially be strong to severe winds. We'll see how that kind of holds together as it works its way toward the east. And outside of that, most of this other part of the line here we show out toward Water Valley, the northern part toward Grenada, is a little bit less impressive. Not to say it couldn't have a couple of stronger wind gusts with it, but certainly the more significant wind is probably in the southern portion of this. And again, in these individual storms trying to pop up, they're all kind of small right now. Like the one we showed closer to Vaden or French Camp, they're all pretty small storms. They do have some shear with them, and certainly, though, this one close to Noxabator is the most interesting, and it does not look as impressive as you even go back 10 to 15 minutes ago. Let's kind of look at that for just a moment here. Get back to, say, right here-ish, 315, about 15, 20 minutes ago. That was a much more rough-looking storm than it is right now. So I should say, organized-looking storm. At least on that lowest scan. Now notice you have those two areas there, the one near Knox Pair and one near Plattsburgh. For a little bit, the Knox Pair one looked less impressive. Looks like we might have some kind of merger going on there. So let's kind of see how that's evolving with this. Red is away from the radar, green is toward the radar. So we kind of look for counterclockwise interaction of that instead of the clockwise, which you kind of see on the back. So the counterclockwise in the front portion there. Still some rotation on that one. It's just don't have a good shot because of how far we are away from either of the radar sites. You see as it changes sites, it looks almost identical to it. So we don't have a good lower level look at that, unfortunately. So let's compare and contrast. Yeah, there you are. So there's either way, there's some strong wind with that. So we will see. So again, spotty showers and thunderstorms out there, main story. Overall threat as it stands And listen, I'm not saying we necessarily need to be like canceling anything today, so just keep that in mind. I mean, lake plans maybe, depending on where your lake plans are at, and certainly that's already happened. Here's our severe thunderstorm watch. We do not have any tornado watches that you can see in effect. Those would typically be the blue boxes there. Severe thunderstorm watch does include from Columbus back to West Point, Grenada, all locations south and west there until 8 p.m. Again, the northwest portion of this likely eliminated, sliced off more quickly as the storms kind of kick through. The overall severe risk, as you can see, a level 2 out of 5, and the tornado risk associated with that, a 1 out of 5, which is the reason why, again, we've kind of emphasized this yesterday as well, that the wind damage potential is the more likely scenario that we do end up having with this. Just checking with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers, lots of low dark clouds, they're seeing same stuff, that we're seeing on these. There was a recent mesoscale convective discussion, which is a discussion with uh, the folks at the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Uh, they put those out. When they do, worth kind of checking to see what they're seeing. In my computer here is not wanting to pop that up. So I can't do that. No, no, we're going to be stuck on this here. Give me a moment to try to pull it up on a different device for a moment. Okay, watch continues. Squall line, hail, risk for large points. Headline. Okay, severe risk continues much of the evening. And again, a limited tornado potential out of this, which does pretty much match kind of what we're thinking. Oh, look, popped up that time. I just had to insult it by going to a different device. It's like, oh no, hold on, I got this. But but you didn't have this. You really, really didn't. Okay, back here to radar. And again, I'll probably before we go there again, you'll notice most of us in the nothing. So if you're up here, say Tupelo or Boonville or Fulton or Houston or Ames or Coffeyville, anywhere up in the north part here, might as well just put this on right away so we don't get accused of saying it's worse than it is. So up north here, you can go anywhere you need to go and do anything you need to do up there. There's going to be some rain, there'll be some lightning from time to time, but no issues on the northern part of this. So if you're tuning in from any of those locations, I think we're in good shape. It's good. I'm watching a few things out there ahead of this, still out in Franklin County, Marion County, but the storms farther north are not ones that are overly concerning. Obviously, if you're in one of the colored counties there, it's a different story. We're still definitely watching those very closely. Looking back here, I'm going to start our storm down here south of Louisville. That's been one of the more impressive that we have had. And again, still that rotation showing up there. Pretty much both the different radar sites, you can see the positioning is pretty close on that. And we would expect it to be opposites on this. Again, red away from the radar site there in the Jackson area, so kind of heading back that way, that way. Man, how is it I could stand in chroma key all day long, point, and be just fine? You put me in a little box there, and I cannot figure up, down, left, right. It saved my life. Good at what we're good at, right? I guess I could draw on the radar. It seems like having that feature something could be useful in this situation. So again, counterclockwise, the way the rotation goes on this, so it's away from the radar site down there in Jackson, hence the red. And as I slide the map just a little bit farther, hold on a second here. Let's clarify that. Yeah, so that's toward, and that's the way. Okay, so if I were arguing, I would argue that's clockwise rotation. This is why we double check things, right, Gabe?
Why would double check?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you clarifying on it?
I'm clarifying. So this should be away from Monroe County. right? What you're looking at there is away from Monroe County, right?
Yes.
So, and it is toward the radar site. Okay. So then if that were the case, you have out here back, that would be clockwise, and this is loosely kind of inward as well. Look at the different part of thunderstorms there. If you were to argue, your rotation is probably clockwise.
In that case, yeah.
Now, the other rotation wasn't.
Well, the other rotation within thunderstorm, this is a more impressive one as of now.
No, no, no. That's what I'm looking at. Look at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely clockwise.
It's anticyclonic rotation.
Unique here in Mississippi,
Huh?
which is unique here.
It's not usual. Yeah. Or it's primarily just wind.
Well, if it's just wind, it's intensifying. It's been some stronger gusts.
Hold on. Okay. The original circulation was the right direction. I had to make sure my brain was looking at the right way as well. Oh, it's Saturday. I feel like we've done this a few times lately, don't you? Okay, so that's cyclonic rotation. That's a good
Yes,
sign
it
because
spreads
it's
towards grades away.
yes, yeah.
And so you're getting this. You're
Yeah.
getting normal. I say normal.
Earlier work, not now. Because again, it's see, you're right between the two radar sites. You gotta make sure you're looking at the right one. If you're looking at this here, that is clockwise rotation. See, it's right between the two sites. So if you're on, see, this is Jackson.
Talking about red and mark.
Yes. Look at that.
And green's away.
Yeah.
And red's towards.
No, it's not. Green is towards, red is away. Look at the top. It's backward. That's what's messing with you. It's anticyclonic rotation. That's what's messing with you.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It's not it's just so unusual that we're like, hold on, get my brain to process it.
Yep. No, you're right. Looking at the, like, you can use the entire line of storms to judge that. It's all moving towards the radar site and it's all showing it green.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Huh.
Yeah, right? Unusual. Okay. We went down a 5-minute rabbit hole where our brains are like, I'm not used to this.
It's like a malfunction.
It was. Our brains both went into malfunction mode. We're like, that can't possibly be right. No, it is. Are you? No, it is. It really is. I promise you, Matt, it's right. Um, because even the other little storms, like the one near west, it has cyclonic rotation. All the little mini ones do, and this one did originally before whatever wind component has eroded anything else on it. Yeah. Okay. Got to make sure, right? Current time is now 3:42. Listen, as we talked about a minute ago, all the stuff up north we're not impressed with. I mean, there's a big difference in what this line looks like. You can't see chroma key right now, so I'll go ahead and draw on here. The northern half, if I just kind of draw a line between, what's going on down here, lots of purple, lots of lightning. What's going up north, neither of those two things. Hence the reason why if you're in the northern portion of this, despite the fact there are going to be some heavy rainfall, lightning, no worries, you're in good shape. But of course, south of this, that's where that severe thunderstorm watch is in effect. That's where some stronger wind gusts remain possible. All those sorts of things. Damaging hail and even a limited tornado threat there. Um, so that's the difference. So what I'm gotta be careful I don't want to do is I don't want to necessarily be just like 100% of the time. Like I don't want to overplay the hand on this here because I think for most of us, again, as you can see, most of us up there, I was able to point up this time, up there, no worries. But down south, obviously, a slightly different scenario there. So we're going to leave this up. Probably not going to talk nonstop about this. I'm going to go to the western warning and then the eastern warning as well. Again, strong winds in particular back here toward Carroll County and Holmes County, kind of both involved in that there. As you can see, that's part of that severe thunderstorm watch. Excuse me, severe thunderstorm warning does continue until 4:15. And wind, the main reason that this has been issued. And tracking that line there at about 40 miles per hour. This is the part that will kind of move into our area and some just rough times initially there. So as I show that, what we're looking at, Durant at 357, Vaden 359, West at 401, Salis at about 407, Hesterville 411, Carmack at 412, Kosciuszko 420, French Camp 429, Ware 440, Ackerman 446, and Fulcher at about 449. Doppler radar indicated strong wind gusts out of this. Probably not a high tornado threat, but not impossible to maybe see something spin up tornado threat. The part of this east of Chula is kind of bowing out a little more quickly. Right there, you guys see me pointing. So a little wind enhancement also with that as well. So again, I'm going to just kind of leave this up and looping and going, and we're going to be kind of come and go as far as talking about this is concerned. So keep it here for the latest. But again, maybe I'll leave it on this slightly wider shot. I'll do it at an angle to where folks up north can kind of see, and we can still be tracking this down south. Okay, something along those lines. All right, we'll talk here in a minute. Hey, so we're just kind of keeping this down here, walking out in NY area box. So we kind of zoom down there for a minute just to do a one over on it. Again, there's some wind in this, no question about that, and maybe some extremely broad rotation. A little more of that kind of showing up on the front side of this as it's exiting Winston County there than there was before. See, we are not crazy. Daniel Lamb, down, Weather Service in Jackson's like, was talking about the storm splitting. He said both cyclonic and anticyclonic mesocyclones apparent on radar.
So we were right both ways.
Well, now there's that.
Cyclonic?
No, there was just anticyclonic at that point there. Now there's cyclonic. That's the counterclockwise versus clockwise thing we were talking about a minute ago. Um, anyway, new severe thunderstorm warning also came out in the last couple of minutes here. For much of Webster, Atala, Winston. Let's see if I. Okay, good. That's on the right site. Okay. Get that justified to the north. There we are. And there will be some storms before this, as well as after this. So there are some times on your screen as we're just kind of coming back and forth on this here. Most of what's happening north of this, well below severe limits. So we'll be back here in a minute. So in case you missed it up here, we haven't talked much about what's going on north because it's not impressive. Outside of that one thunderstorm over there in Franklin County, um, then I'm not on TV right now. Reason we're not on TV is, again, we cut in for tornado warnings or life-threatening severe weather. And obviously, okay, you're out on a boat and there's lightning, that's threatening your life. But the reality is 70 plus mile per hour winds, essentially 65, 70 mile an hour winds, where we're sure it's producing significant damage, or tornadoes. And that's not what this line has been proven to produce at this point here. We are monitoring some rotation on a few of these thunderstorms south, but again, um, most of it is just some wind, and honestly, more in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range. So there's our track of the most impressive part of this line. We're just kind of coming in and out right now. So we'll be in, we'll be out, as we're kind of tracking this, just um, watching this line move through. So if you're north of this, you're largely in pretty good shape. Almost everything north is in good shape. Hey, so we're in and out here again as we screen isn't very clear. The path is unreadable. It might be an internet issue here on the because I'm looking at this and I will double check. I'm gonna pull up the stream myself just to double check clarity. Give me a moment. Yeah, I'm reading okay. I'm gonna get like a yeah, I can read it all right on mine. So I think if there's issues reading it, it's probably just the data on your internet. Sorry about that. I'll go ahead and pull that down here for a moment. We'll just kind of look ahead, just as we continue to watch it. You know, some interactions on the front end here. East to kill Michael and southeast to kill Michael. Some little spots of little rotation there. You see, but that rotation's kind of out there in the area ahead of it. And so typically if we're going to see rotation that's like a tornado or something like that, that's not necessarily the way in which it looks. Still strong winds either way. I think we feel very confident about that. Some strong gusty winds with that part of this. And some broader rotation down here as well. But you know, looking at all these, wind is the main factor, and I'd say we probably had much more significant wind in the last week or so than what this is depicted here. So, kind of the overall theme, just for folks that have maybe just stumbled upon the stream, uh, easiest way to kind of show this is just to put a dividing line on here. So ahead of this, okay, so if you are back here, no worries, okay? So we are watching this area to the southeastern about quadrant of the area. Everything up north, no worries, no issues. Down south, obviously, more issues there. Hi, Bobby, from down there in Richland. You just kind of look at some of those storms down closer to you. Obviously, plenty that we also have as well. But the strongest portions, as you can see, that batch up here we have closer to Philadelphia. Obviously, the Kosciuszko back toward Ackerman part of this, and then they're south of Vicksburg. You'll notice how there's kind of this green line extending out, we call an outflow boundary of rain-cooled air. That's what's allowed most of this there from southwest of Kosciuszko to Vicksburg just to continue to weaken. It's just not getting the more unstable air in there. That's a good sign. That's a good thing. I don't think anybody's going to complain, oh, we don't have enough storms. But as we mentioned, if you live north of where we were showing you a moment ago, uh, okay, so someone was asking about Columbus, south side of Columbus. Southern Lowndes County is still kind of in it. I would say in the path of where there could be some stronger winds. Again, I don't think this is unreasonable to kind of split. I'll try to get all of Columbus out of it. I don't think that's unreasonable. Yeah, mainly this zone south. But yeah, I think Columbus kind of on the edge there, and there still could be some gusty winds. Um, but I would say certainly south of you is the more likely location. Because south of that's where there's more unstable air. All right, so if I kind of divide that on there for a moment, and I'll just put on the top here. No worries up north. And again, we're just kind of coming in and out as we're talking about this here. If you're south of this, if you're close to the line, obviously there's still a limited chance there. But really, you get much beyond this, not impressed by what we're seeing on this. All right? So if you're north of this, no reason to necessarily stick around here. We'll just be kind of in and out over the next little while. Hey there. So the reason we don't have sound on right now is just kind of coming in and out. We don't have necessarily anything that's strong enough to warrant being on nonstop. And so we'll come on, talk for a few minutes, and go back off. That's kind of why we're back and forth on this here. So I apologize for any confusion that might be causing as we're just kind of watching it. South of this red line is where the storms are the strongest. And you can see that it prompted severe thunderstorm warnings. The batch we're looking at down here south again, Fair Hill and Sugarlock is one of the more impressive in our batch. A lot of lightning on that. It's definitely rotating, but more of a hail and wind producer than anything else, at least at this point here. Certainly one to monitor, but it's moving out of the viewing area. Look back toward the northwest. Again, straight line winds main impact on this line here. There are multiple kind of layers of thunderstorms, all kind of overlapping one another there. Someone was asking about rolling fork in the clear. I can hit that real quick here. Yeah, rolling fork, you're good. You're in good shape back there. Someone was asking about Algoma as well. I mean, it's right over top of you at this point. They're closer to Chihuahua, so you're past this in Algoma. And that's the thing. If you're past this kind of one and done line, you're in good shape. I am closely watching what's kind of going on here at Ackerman. You kind of see how we sort of have a bow echo that's kind of the winds back behind this. Shoot, where are we at here? Kind of flowing back behind it like this here, right? And so that's what's kind of driving it eastward with whatever strong wind gusts it has. Um, But the section we have just a little east of Kosciuszko is going a little faster than some others. I'm going to carry it forward at about 40, we'll go 43 miles per hour. That might, so it'll be a little fast in some spots, a little slow in others. But you see how it kind of has that sort of S sort of shape. It's on a very, very large scale. The tighter that S, the more concerning it is. In this case, it's probably more straight line winds again, anything else, but we'll have to see a little closer there when it gets closer to Fentress, some other locations like that. Our storm chasers with North Mississippi storm chasers are out monitoring this as they always are. We've heard nothing of significant interest back from them at this point. That's not to say something doesn't change. Yeah, Gabe?
Old oak tree across Highway 36 in Ryan's.
Okay.
So
What?
on the northern side of the line.
Okay. So, you want to pass along weather service?
Yes,
Okay. Thank you. So, anyway, that's what we're looking at. Some wind primarily, maybe a little bit of hail. Someone's asking about Cumberland up there. Cumberland, you're really south for the most part of this batch, so there'll be some gusty wind as this moves in. Maybe 40 miles per hour, maybe 50 miles per hour on the north side of this. But more than anything, the strongest winds are farther south, and even there, we have not had a lot of reports of wind damage with this to this point. So sporadic wind damage isn't impossible. More than anything, it's going to be a lot of heavy rainfall, lightning, and sub-severe. So this track that I have here is primarily the zones that we're concerned about. It's not to say something doesn't happen north of that, but certainly in the track is the most likely location for that to happen. All right, so we're gonna again Fulton, everybody north. Yeah, I'll show it on the wide shot here for just a second. Um, but everything north of that track, yeah, there's lightning, there's heavy rainfall, there might be some 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, but at this point, I'm underimpressed because there's more fuel, more instability south, and so that limits with less instability north, the amount of fuel that those storms have to work off of. So I'll again kind of angle it so folks can kind of see what's going on up north, while we're also kind of obviously highlighting what's happening south. We're monitoring things here behind the scenes, and they'll kind of come in and out as we talk about things. So we'll be back to talk a little bit more here in a couple minutes. Hey, Katrina, the reason we're not on here nonstop is the majority of this line remains below severe limits. Um, we are seeing a little more strengthening in kind of the north part here. Um, the part that's up here again, I think Mike just mentioned a second ago. Yeah. Monroe, Chickasaw, and Itawamba counties. Seeing a little bit more strengthening on that part here. Um, just in really like the last 10 minutes or so, starting to get a little stronger, especially the Okolona part there. Um, it's kind of firming up a little bit. So again, we're not looking at primarily anything more than wind at this point on this part of the line, but let's get a track on this as well. Give you kind of a rough time there. I'm gonna double check the speed here in a moment because this has gotten a little more organized. You can see over the last hour, we've gone from the middle portion of this back out here toward Bruce being basically non-existent to getting a little bit more organized. Lightning's come up some, but if you compare that 39 lightning strikes on this, and you can see some times there as it gets closer to Nettleton at 4:55, Okolona at 4:46, Amory at 5:09, Aberdeen 5:13, Hamilton around 5:28, that'd be Hamilton, Mississippi. Detroit at about 5:38, Solent at 5:43, and Hamilton, Alabama at about 5:46. Let me double check that speed. And let's actually do a better job of hitting the front end of that. Give me a moment to get that angle a little better. There we are. Well, now what are we doing up there in Chickasaw County? There are some times. Got to take, yeah, got to look. Don't do dumb things. Don't do dumb things. Hey, Gabe, can I borrow your eyes for a second?
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out if this is just a cell merger, or if this is going to try to do dumb things up here toward Wren and Amory. So we've seen some intensification. Yeah, that's a cell merger moving through the line.
Mhm.
Looks a little worse than it is, but it is
Well, that
shifting
one
out a
when
little
it
bit.
moves into it and cycle into it.
That one there,
Yeah.
it probably doesn't hit it till up there, which it could. Something could happen. It's also splitting.
Yeah. Yeah. But that bottom one might feed into it.
Yeah, that the bottom one might not. That's gonna split up and catch it up there. That one will catch it right there. So, um, someone's asking if Nettleton should be worried. I think some strong wind gusts out of this in Nettleton. I would be expecting some of that. Um, I would say the peak threat's probably a little bit south of you for whatever we end up seeing. And I'm not getting a huge estimation on radar here, but you can definitely see the winds have picked up a little bit more on that. We'll come south and we'll come back north. One thing to keep in mind though is lightning is usually a sign of turbulence. So I'm not going to zoom it in or out, but I want to show you how this particular area, you can't see it. Hold on, let me see if I can pull down my camera for a second. Can you still hear me? Yeah, you can still hear me. Okay. So you see the lightning counter there in the corner at 246 over the last 10 minutes, 248. You can see about 250, right? Put that back on for a second. I'll slide up north here. Again, not zooming in or out, keeping it same width. And whereas that one down south that we know is severe had 250-ish lightning strikes, this one up here has 17. So lightning is a pretty good indicator a lot of time on how strong a storm is. This could still be strong. It does have a little bit of stronger winds looking like it's kicking out there closer to 47 in Egypt Road there, I should say. So that's getting a little bit more organized there. But the more impressive part of the overall line is south, but that's getting a little more interesting right there. I wouldn't be shocked if they have to put some kind of severe thunderstorm warning on that portion. We check out the Manti part here. It's interesting how that's kind of broken away. And then our main kind of long-lived bow echo out here. More lightning, more turbulent, but Also, probably some straight line winds with that. I think we know exactly kind of what this is doing and going to do. I'm a little more interested in what's going on up north, just because let's clear that. Let's get a good line. I'm more interested in what's going up north because it's just kind of really strengthened in the last little bit here. Let's see this. There you go. So there's your kind of track and new updated position. So let's scoot that forward. I'll slice off a little bit of time off that track. There we go. Okay, so there's some times on this one, some gusty winds certainly on this likely. Um, Again, on all these non-zero tornado threat, but this is wind and heavy rainfall and lightning mainly. And you can definitely tell, again, on this shot here, as I pull this down, the quantity of lightning strikes, 364, that's quite a few over just like the last 10 minutes or so, versus north, where we're looking to see if we get a jump in lightning as it goes through a little bit more of an intensification process. Not much, but maybe a little bit. 21 strikes. So more lightning, but not nearly as much. Again, it'll be probably hitting 45 with about 45 to 50 mile per hour winds. I don't know how much of this wind is making it to the ground, right? And the reason for that is the warm front is south of this, and that's where there's a little more fuel is down south. Probably here, let me show. There's probably a better way to show this. We'll show that. But just look at the temperature contrast. You're up here in like Amory, Houston. You can see 72-ish we show there. Look kind of those latest temperatures. So yeah, there's a good example. So it's like 80-ish around Brooksville and Columbus versus 69 in Tupelo. That more than 10-degree difference there is the difference between up north, not going to cut it, not going to be strong enough, not enough fuel for severe weather, and south where it is. Uh, and so that's part of why, there are other reasons, but that's part of the reason why we're less concerned with severe weather north, and that's the reason why the northern portion of the area is not under a severe thunderstorm watch. But down south, they are under one till 8 p.m. I do not think it's necessarily going to be required all the way to 8 p.m. Hmm. Excuse me. Okay. Akamine draw this forward and we'll talk a minute. So I am watching, again, we've talked about how this is kind of the broad S shape up here closer to, frankly, closer to Ackerman. There's a place where it kind of bends back a little bit, kind of bends back to the north and west there. And so it's in those spots that, sometimes if something does try to spin up, it happens. Nothing impressive at this point, but I did notice just a little bit of a wind shift there. You have to go a lot farther to fully pull off something significant. Just a little bit of a one there. It's like, let's check this out. New mesoscale discussion. There we are. And that is downstream. Better flow aloft north, forcing a shear normalization. Additionally, outflow is moved out ahead of the southern portion of the line last hour. Air mass. It's really soft. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Okay, not impressed by anything I read there. Okay, but the part up here around Ackerman, one thing that just catches my eye. Number one, you have more lightning strikes there. Number two, near Dido Road, I see some broad rotation. It's in a spot we would look for it near Reform Sturgis Road. There's also a beneficial cell merger going on there. I'll take that east and just say this is one spot I'm watching a little more carefully. It's going to take a little bit of work. Um, Not impossible that rotation could become a little bit of damaging wind at least, maybe something more. Still got some time before that ends up happening, but interesting for sure. But that's kind of how that's playing out. Excuse me. Okay. See, you can even kind of see that little merger as this comes up from the south. There's an area there. It's got a ways to go before it produces something, and it might not produce anything, but certainly something to watch. Now let's look up here in this section. Yeah, see, every time I see little something protruding on that, it's because of another kind of merger there going on, and not quite there. Yeah, someone mentioned there that this is where weather call comes in. Absolutely. There is no reason to sit here watching this. So that's why we're not on TV. We only kind of come on when we have life-threatening severe weather. And this is not, I don't have an obvious tornado. Um, I have bits of rotation in this line, but I don't have an obvious tornado. So again, we're kind of in and out. Yeah, exactly. Like Mike says, not a reason to watch this necessarily, unless you're a geek. I think the odds of producing a tornado are fairly low. We're watching that one little spot there in Choctaw and eventually Octavia County, and another one up here, um, really from Gibson north to the Lee County line. Underimpressed in both cases. So I'm muting and unmuting, frankly, just to save some energy as we wait on something to maybe happen. So we're watching behind the scenes. We'll be back over here in a couple minutes. Okay. Um, Appreciate that report there from Columbus. Uh, so again, yeah, we have more chances again tomorrow. Uh, Gabe and I were just talking about that a second ago. Pattern's not quite as northwest to southeast on the angle. Hopefully that limits some of the threats a little bit more than even today. Let's go north to south on this here as I continue to kind of poke and prod for looking for some of the wind. Again, is there anybody out there, Okolona, Ren, that can verify any of this? Because at this point, the other thing that I'm looking at is I just don't know that this is all make it to the ground, especially with the way in which that looks there. Um, just not quite as unstable on this part. Down south, though, obviously things continue. But yeah, this part here, I'm just not 100% convinced that's making it to the ground. The wind is pushing the ground out of that. We'll get a storm track on it just to kind of cover our bases, but I'm much less interested in this part here than I am down south. So there's some, generally your times there. Again, where the radar is looking, that's getting to the ground. The reality of where the storms are actually producing, that might be different, but sometimes there just in case. Amory 515, so within about the next 7 minutes or so for you. Again, assuming about 43 miles per hour, I think is what I'm tracking that at right now. Let's go south. Now, this is a little stronger out here toward, and it is not me, it's him.
I know, I'm just gonna ask if I'm okay to go through the show, so I can have
Yeah, it's fine. Um, See, my green looks a little bit better, a little bit stronger. So, yeah, so there's where some of our stronger winds should go through, and some times there. Lots of rain and wind and thunder, but not too bad. See, lots of rain and wind and thunder. Okay. So let me know, Melissa, here in just a second on that. Again, as it kind of comes raining pretty hard and some claps of thunder, but none of that. Yes, that's the thing. The wind's not making the ground up north. So it's a good sign. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's be clear here. We should be AWAT. We should be AWAT. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch and we'll probably still have warnings. Yeah, I am. But I mean, I'm not on this, but hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Um, Clear that. Yeah, I mean, there's some swirly stuff, but nothing that's over. Could the storm shift up? Um, no, no. I would say that it's unlikely, that we're going to see this. Yeah, and you could just tell. Just look at the lightning here for a moment, and even then, look at the lightning down here. We show what 100, 570. Can't see it. Hold on. Might have to rethink where I have that lightning on my screen. Okay, so 577 lightning strikes based on what's on the screen in the last 30 minutes. If I look just at this portion here, it's 116. And then compare that to, say, 30, 40 minutes ago. Well, I don't want to stack the deck, so let's make sure we got that right. So there's about 150. And so now 133. So number of lightning strikes down a little bit, though they are more concentrated. So that's why, again, this could be producing some damaging wind gusts up here, Starkville toward Bethedin. That seems more likely. And then compare that to what's going on north, where it's, well, if we get north of the warning, only 29. which I believe is up from 23 about 15, 30 minutes ago. Well, then obviously it wasn't in the picture at that point, so it won't be as many. We're really lucky here. If this were the way we have little mergers going on here, it'd be really tempting to be concerned about some of these notches. I'm gonna double check. Hey y'all, I want to see some of the spokes. Yeah, I'm gonna put that in the chat for the weather service there. Okay, check something else here.
Again, yeah. So we could do a watch, it's gonna open as a, where we see them on to this show. We could do our five.
Okay, so
I gave you free 30 for me, which I can change that, so you know, if you can change it or something.
okay.
What's our fourth?
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot I'm on the screen like that.
I don't know when we.
Okay. Yeah, this just doesn't look like there's a whole lot up in that. So it's come south here, kind of approaching Starkville. That is a little bit more impressive. It's not quite what sometimes we've had recently. So a little spotty areas of strong wind still in this. It's not the widespread stuff, but I think those pockets where you get the cell mergers and eventually the collapses, that's probably where it's doing. And there's just been so many of those. Perhaps that's what's given it to us today. It's kind of the track on the heaviest part of it. Yeah, that Starkville one has had some broad stuff for quite a while. Um, um, and it had, I would say, a little more beneficial angle a little bit ago. Look on that TV, how short I am. Oh, tall Gabe Maynard.
What?
Oh, I was standing up here in your shot. Look how short I was.
All subjective.
It is. Okay. No, I think it's objective. I think I'm objectively short comparatively speaking. Subjective is I look good short or bad short. That's um anyway. See, the thing about what's up here in Starkville, most of what you have in Adeton, this is more of a downburst signature, right? And it's not a true one, but you see how it has away from the radar. Actually, it's not because you would expect to. Am I on the right one? Yeah, you'd expect your downburst signature to be red here on the south side and green on the north. So it's coming down. It's spread in both directions there. Near Ennis, where I'd see a little bit of that. And clearly down south, I mean, this is trying to be silly, but that's on the north side of where those winds are shooting south. Port of a tree down, Highway 14, just inside Attala County from on Winston, excuse me, Winston County, just inside of the county line next to Attala County along Highway 14. So did get a report back out here on Highway 14 of a tree that was knocked down near the Rural Hill community right there. Not a lot of reports. But again, a sign that when you get those little interactions, you can get some stronger wind gusts. As mentioned before, and wind getting up on 371, hail in Adaton. How large is that hail, Rebecca? Okay, wind starting up here in Becker. It's really dark. Let's look closer at that and we'll head south real quick. Just kind of look at the wider shot. Yeah, so that's kind of that leading wind there. So a little bit of wind getting to the surface with that. Okay. Yeah, I know we have some folks traveling down here, so we're gonna go a little wider than maybe we typically do. Some storms way down south. The storms coming out of the northwest, the more the issue, and they'll be kind of more north side of Natchez there. Do a little storm track on that for y'all. Kind of some times there. Some hail with that one probably as well, and certainly a lot more lightning. Look, for example, at the 800 lightning strikes on this. Now it's behind my picture. Trust me, it's 804 lightning strikes in the last 815 in the last 10 minutes or so. This batch here is 500, so a lesser number. That's why, again, in the middle there, still a lot of heavy rainfall. Part here that it's kind of southern portion of this line and hitting the other thunderstorms is a little stronger south of Union, Decatur. And of course, in our section up here where there's thankfully a lot less lightning. In fact, if I just kind of split this in two, I'm just going to only catch this section. I show 158, 107. And then I'm just trying to kind of catch that what's in the corner there to get it, not 76, just in that little finger of precipitation. Okay, so we're taking the mic up and down. I'm going to take it down a minute while I kind of run over there for a few minutes here. Uh, Most of these storms, again, well below severe limits. Um, some of these obviously not, like the one I showed you a moment ago there, and I just kind of keep checking on these ones up in Monroe County because partially because it's kind of a litmus test for what the rest of it is doing. Because you start looking at this up here, it's like, well, so we get a good close shot of it, and then I know what it could be doing in other spots with similar radar returns. Okay, so I'm going to mute this here for a few minutes, and I'll be right back as necessary.
Okay, so stream starting back up. We're about to go live here at the 6 o'clock show. So hopefully, any questions you guys have, we'll answer throughout the show. And of course, I'll look here whenever we have breaks and things like that to answer you guys particular. But I do want to say that where we sit at right now, severe thunderstorm watch still for Clay, Lowndes, and Knoxville County before this threat clears off and moves more towards Alabama. This isn't the last threat this weekend, so it will be a busy Memorial Day weekend. Of course, we'll talk about all of that tonight. So make sure to tune in tonight at 6, and we'll give you the very latest. But um, I know we still have a couple of viewers, so for those that are still lingering around, hopefully this threat just continues to meager off like it's doing, and we'll see the much better conditions, hopefully, for the next couple of hours. Huh? No, it just did.
I really did. I really did.
Did we get any pictures for a VO or something? Well, I'm gonna try and look at some. No, of the cool clouds. No, you know what? I'll do that tonight.
Oh, actually, I think Chelsea might have sent something.
Chelsea did send something. We got a lot of pictures of the clouds rolling in. I think it's worthy of a VO tonight. We can do that leading into weather. Will that work? Yeah.
Thank you for joining us for WTVA 9 News at 6. I'm Jake White. You are getting a live look through one of our NDOT traffic cameras over in Columbus as we continue to follow severe weather that is rolling through our area. We now bring in meteorologist Gabe Maynard for the latest. Gabe.
Well, Jake, the latest is the severe thunderstorm watch continues to be chiseled off as this threat moves east. What we have right now is Lowndes County, Knoxville County, and Clay County still under that watch through 8 p.m. this evening. But looking at that threat, it still has a long way to go before this becomes something more significant. Basically, what we have are those thunderstorms out there around West Point and Columbus, extending south, but it's also being cluttered with rain, and that's just taking all the energy. So this is far from producing anything too significant. But still, looking at that threat as it moves east at about 40 miles an hour, we'll go ahead and give a few times of when folks can expect heavier rainfall, maybe a few stronger wind gusts, and possibly even some small hailstones with this as well. But moving in that eastward direction, we're going to be moving into Pickens County, as we can see right there. We're going to see Pickensville 604, Carrollton 615, Hickory 619, Reform 625, Gordo closer to about 629. Even the north half of this line going to be having some heavy rainfall too. But what's happened over the last hour, the lightning production has gone down substantially. So this threat is far from being anything too significant and definitely diminished a lot from what it once was even an hour, 2 hours ago, like we've been tracking all afternoon. We have gotten a few storm reports across the region. Let's just go ahead and take a look at those. A lot of those coming south, and that's where the primary threat has been, is the southern part of our viewing area as that strong severe thunderstorm rolled through Winston County and then just south of Knoxville County. A few trees down as well as a few large hailstones. We also had a few reports of trees down up in Rienzi. That was from a lot of heavy rainfall, and even a small gust can knock over that tree when the ground is as saturated as it is. But where we sit right now, that severe thunderstorm watch still in effect until 8 p.m., but we are far from seeing a severe thunderstorm happen. So hour by hour through the evening shows those rain chances sticking around, but I do want to say it diminishes at first, and then into the overnight, more showers and storms move in, and Jake, we're talking about another severe weather threat moving into Sunday, and yes, for your Memorial Day. We're tracking all of that and much more coming up in a couple of minutes.
Breaking news tonight out of Lee County. 2 people were found dead in Shannon by Lee County Sheriff's deputies. At 3:30 p.m. on Friday afternoon, Lee County 911 received a report that led to deputies to a residence on County Road 295 in the Shannon area. When deputies arrived, they contacted the property owner and the resident, then soon after conducted a search of the premises. It's during that search that deputies discovered 2 dead individuals, and soon after, the resident of the property was taken into custody. Investigators have launched a formal investigation, with the case being treated as a double homicide. The Lee County Sheriff's Department says that further information will be released once it's available. New at 6 is a heartbreaking story coming out of Corinth tonight. The Corinth School District announced the passing of one of their students, this after a late Friday afternoon crash at Bigwig Lake. It happened in the area of Goat Island and Yellow Creek when two jet skis collided. There were two people on each jet skis, one of those being 14-year-old Jackson Marlar. Marlar was taken to a Hardin County, Tennessee hospital where he later died from his injuries. An investigation is ongoing into the collision where interviews are being conducted. Meanwhile, the Corinth School District said in a post to Facebook that, quote, "It's in great sadness that we share the passing of one of our students, Jackson Marlar. We are heartbroken by this loss and we grieve his family and friends." They also add that counselors will be available at Corinth Middle School on Tuesday morning. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family and friends. The West Point Police Department says they need your help in locating a suspect involved in a string of burglaries. These burglaries occurred in the early morning hours at around 4 a.m. this morning. The burglaries have been taking place in the areas of Broad Street, Jim James Court, and the 4th Street areas. If you have any information that could lead to the identity of this suspect or suspects, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers. The attorney for victims in an AI child porn scandal is now speaking out after the news that a former superintendent and teacher were indicted. Former Corinth Middle School teacher Wilson Jones is accused of using AI to create child porn of students. School administrators, including former superintendent Lee Childress, had known about the case since November. Law enforcement didn't find out until February. Jones faces 3 counts of depicting a child engaging in sexual conduct. Meanwhile, Childress was charged for felony hindering prosecution. The lack of transparency, failure to alert law enforcement sparked outrage among parents. That resulted in Childress being fired back in March. The attorney for the victims is praising the move. The former superintendent could face up to 15 years behind bars for his part in the scandal. We have new information on a robbery investigation out of Lowndes County. Deputies arrested 3 more people in connection with a March robbery. Lowndes County Sheriff Eddie Hawkins confirmed the arrest of DeQuavius Gray, Takaya Wood, and Zachary Wilbin. They all face robbery charges for the March 29th robbery on Gilmer Wilburn Road. That's where law enforcement says they lured a woman and then attacked her. This comes just days after the arrest of this man, Anthony Hill Jr., who is also facing charges in connection with this robbery. Mississippi filed a response to a death row inmate's motion for a rehearing on the order setting his execution date. Richard Jordan is Mississippi's longest tenured death row inmate, sentenced to death for kidnapping and killing Edwina Martyr back in 1976 in Harrison County. His execution date is planned for June 25th. The state is arguing that Jordan's 5th filing of post-conviction relief is a, quote, frivolous attempt to delay his execution. Jordan has already led multiple legal challenges to his sentence and has been sentenced to death row 4 times. As experts say that violence against young people is increasing across the nation and even here in North Mississippi. But local communities are working to put a stop to it. A Lee County church is reaching out to the community to do something about it. The Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church in Verona held a youth summit on, quote, Stop the Violence yesterday. Organizers say they placed a lot of emphasis on gun violence because it's a growing issue in our area. The summit was open to children and youth of all ages. There was a youth panel to get feedback from the community. Different agencies were also on hand to give the kids alternative activities to take part in away from school. Organizers say they will host another summit in the fall. The Mississippi Highway Patrol is reminding motorists to travel safely during the Memorial Day weekend, especially dangers that come to traveling during that period. MHP began its holiday enforcement period on Friday morning. Motorists should expect to see more state troopers as they work to remove impaired drivers and ensure everyone uses their seatbelts. MHP investigated 135 crashes with 4 deaths during the 2024 Memorial Day weekend. Troopers also arrested 118 people for a DUI and issued 864 seatbelt citations. And coming up, millions of Americans are planning to get out on the water for Memorial Day weekend. But how can you ensure that you and your family stay safe? That ahead as WTVA 9 News at 6 continues.
And for any Memorial Day weekend plans, you want to move them indoors, so time on the water might not even be a concern. We're tracking the latest on those rain chances, what to expect, and when to expect it, coming up right after the break. Yeah, that was a little weird story.
I know.
Yeah, it will come soon.
I know, I love it.
I didn't say mine.
No, which one?
Yeah, mine didn't say mine.
Oh, welcome, Jay. I'm going to. What? Yeah, that would be super dope.
All right. Well, I'm just coming back on stream to talk to you guys a little bit about the threat. I do see that. I mean, this isn't really a threat for tonight. A lot of that has diminished in strength. And so what we're seeing right now is a good heavy rainfall in Columbus, moving into parts of Pickens and Lamar County in Alabama. But in regards to a severe threat, I don't see strong winds, anything close to 50, 60 miles an hour. And large hail, not going to be a concern either. Tornadoes, not a threat with this at all. So we're really going to see this diminish for our area, continue to diminish, and that little bit of lightning that's being produced, that's going to continue to diminish as well. So it's dark in between Vernon and Soldier. Yeah, this cloud base, it definitely gets things dark quickly. We drove through it across North Mississippi, driving on 22, and it got dark quick for sure. But luckily, it looks like in regards to a severe threat or tornadic threat, we're far from that. Let me see. Raining good in Columbus? Oh, for sure. For sure. I'd love to see the rain totals after this is all over. A few flash flooding threats out towards our west, but for us, looking good so far. We are getting lots of rainfall in the next couple of days, though, so that's going to add to that total. And that saturated ground could cause some uprooted trees, could cause some flash flooding potential. So hopefully we stay void of that, but it's important we stay weather aware today, tomorrow, and yes, Memorial Day. New Hope? What are you asking about New Hope, or is it just raining heavy?
Memorial Day weekend is the unofficial start of summer. Law enforcement across Mississippi want to make sure that you have a safe one, not just on the roads, but on the water too. Many folks hit the water in their boats, weather is nice, but the Department of Marine Resources reminds boaters to prioritize safety. Boaters need to make sure they have safety gear, including a charged fire extinguisher, some form of communication devices like a radio or cell phone, life vests, and more. Seven people lost their lives in 2023 due to boating-related accidents. Law enforcement also asks that you please don't operate or be on a boat while you're impaired. And coming up, could you imagine being a tourist in one of the biggest cities in the world, being kidnapped and hidden away for weeks? Well, that's one New York tourist reality. We'll have that story ahead as WTVA 9 News at 6 continues.
And taking a live look at a gloomy traffic camera there in Columbus. Rain continuing to come down. That's highlighting our forecast right now. How about for the rest of our Memorial Day weekend? We're looking at all of that forecast coming up right after the break. Yeah, sorry. Once we're live, I'm afraid to speak because I don't want it to pick up on the mic. So
Yeah, you
that's why I give a
better
thumbs
not.
up.
Better not.
Golly, are your allergies dying?
I sneezed. Gabe, you're going to think I'm exaggerating. I sneezed 15 times.
Oh no, I listened.
I'm pretty sure it made Matt.
Matt finally
Made a
said, "Bless
comment.
you."
Yeah, he said bless you once, and I was like, man, you do not need it. It's like, we have a lot more sneezes to go through. I got embarrassed. I had to go to the bathroom and sneeze like 10 more times.
This is just an appa sneezer, an appetizer, but
Stop.
I tried. That was clever. Because you're not going to say a sneezetizer, an appa sneezer.
No. Okay, I'll give it to you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Would you rather be sneezetizer or appa sneezer? I don't know. Whatever
I
you're
gave
feeling.
you-
Yeah, 4.
I gave you 4.
Yeah, I can do 4. It's gloomy. I'm going to say that. This is a mile away from Chris's girlfriend's mother's
In
house.
fact, she lives at 1234 Wallaby Way, zip code.
With her security, what I forget your
You got it.
social security. There it is. Golly, I've been up too long.
Hey, were those fun?
Appa sneezer. Okay, they agreed. Appa sneezer.
Okay.
Rather than
I
sneezetizer.
guess since the public agrees, it's fine.
You're just a hater. You wanted to come up with it.
Everybody knows you're the hater.
What would be the main course? You can't use it with an entree.
Well, I was going to say cinnamon.
You could say, no, not lunchew. I'm going to come up with something.
Hey, are you looking up here?
At some point. There's also sneezert. Like dessert. Huh? Yeah, I know. But there's a sneezer.
That's dessert.
Yeah, that's good. Whenever you get done talking and you feel like maybe you've been talking too much, or we're trying to transition to the wall. Should we have good that?
Welcome back, everybody. Gabe Maynard joins us live here in the studio. As always, Gabe, you have not been given the best news to the viewers. I know it's Memorial Day weekend. I even did a story about a boat, and you were like, I don't think anybody's getting on that boat.
Yeah, you have to make me even more of a dead counter, right?
Yeah, make me look
Or
cooler.
you throw the lob and I just block it.
I'm like the fun guy. Gabe over here is like, nah, you guys aren't celebrating. Maybe
You can
indoors.
celebrate, yeah, if you have an indoor pool.
How many people do you know with an indoor pool?
I don't know, but if you have one, please let me know because I need that for more.
And I need a friend. If you have an indoor pool, DM me. I want to be friends. But anyway.
Yeah, we don't want to be friends for what, right?
No, not the weather at all. We're not friends.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of severe weather risks that we've been getting and currently still under that severe thunderstorm watch until 8 p.m. this evening. Now, there are only 3 counties left in that severe thunderstorm watch, and honestly, would not be surprised to see these expire here in the next couple of minutes or so. Those counties are Clay County, Lowndes County, and Noxubee County. But really, where that threat lies is further to the south. Let's just expand things out here real quick and show you where we're seeing those counties listed in green. Going to be south of Jackson along that 45 corridor, basically highlighting the areas of greatest concern. And it shows that on Storm Track Doppler radar, a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings being issued along that line where that watch is issued. Where it's not being issued, right here in Northeast Mississippi, where you see the watch in place, Clay County, Lowndes County, Noxubee County. If you take a look, that thunderstorm that we did have is now moving towards Lamar and Pickens County outside of the viewing area. And honestly, in regards to strength, it's far from what it was producing earlier on. So that's going to be moving into more of Birmingham's neck of the woods and where we are finally a little bit of a break from what to expect through the rest of our evening. Now, I say a little bit of a break because there are more chances coming for not just rain, not just thunderstorms, but the possibility of severe weather. Just looking at what we're seeing across the region is going to be that risk area, mainly going to be for the Midwest, but you can see even in Northeast Mississippi, that level 2 risk area still being highlighted for a good portion of the area. This is going to be pulled back as we head further into the evening, just because that severe weather threat has now come and gone. But I do want to focus on surface analysis just a bit, because what we have is this frontal boundary that extends all the way across the southern half of the United States. And what this is doing is acting as an initiation point for a lot of these storms to develop. So wherever this frontal boundary remains will allow more convection into Sunday, and yes, into our Memorial Day, to see more of this weather take place. So yes, we have this risk area today. It's going to linger in our area for the next couple of days. So let's go ahead and look at that hour by hour forecast through the rest of our evening, and we're going to see it drop in that percentage towards 9 o'clock, but really pick up as we head further into the 11 o'clock hour and really overnight as more of that development takes place. Let's walk through that on Storm Tracker here real quick. So again, a lot of that moisture being pushed out towards the east, and we're being left with mostly clear skies. By the time we get towards 10 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock, more of that development takes place. It's going to be Chickasaw County, all the way up towards Tishomingo County, where we'll see the areas of greatest concern for these thunderstorms. Now, will they be up to severe potential? There's not too much energy remaining in our area, so hopefully this is just a good downpour and just going to water our plants as we head further into the night. Now, 11 p.m., that becomes to spread a little bit more, and it will intensify through the rest of our evening. So by the time it pushes more into Alabama, we will see the threat for some strong wind gusts and the threat for some large hailstones increasing more and more. It's really going to be Pickens, Lamar, and Franklin County as it moves further into the Birmingham area. Now, overnight, we will see more of those thunderstorms develop, but these are going to be far from severe limits and just going to be those overnight showers and storms. What this will do is make it comfortable for our morning commute. Low temperature is going to be mid to upper 60s, south of 82, low 70s. So some areas warmer than others, but it's honestly just setting the scene for what will be another active day for our Sunday. As we're in church, we will see some more development happening along the Tennessee state line. By noontime, and a lot of us heading outside of church, Alcorn and Prentice County and Tishomingo County, even included in there, will see thunderstorms happening over the area. This is primarily going to be along the Tennessee state line. That tail of moisture kind of goes into Lafayette County and wraps around, and we will see some more thunderstorms develop as we head further into the 1, 2, even 3 o'clock hour. But really, that main line is what we're watching, and that's going to be moving in by 4, 5 o'clock. And you can see it extending all the way across our viewing area before it extends more in that southern direction. This will have the threat for some strong wind gusts and large hail yet again. And that's going to be our case into tomorrow afternoon and evening as more rainfall wraps around. So today's severe weather threat, honestly, it's wrapping up. But tomorrow's just beginning. We're under that level 2 risk across Northeast Mississippi. And we talk about Memorial Day. We'll touch more on this tonight at 10, but that level 1 risk in place for more of that severe weather to linger over our area, still a part of that same frontal boundary. That frontal boundary lingers in our area and provides more rain chances into our work weeks. You see Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, before finally maybe drying out by next weekend. Temperature is pretty comfortable, upper 60s as lows and low 80s as highs, but really it's a week where you need that rain gear ready.
A tourist was held captive and tortured for several weeks inside of a Manhattan home before managing to escape Friday morning and running for help, eventually leading to the arrest of his alleged kidnapper. The 28-year-old man visiting from Italy met his alleged kidnapper on May 6th. Law enforcement sources say that this is when Joe Waltz took the younger man to a home he was renting. Initially, sources said the case involved sexual torture, but later clarified the two had some sort of money issue, but that there was no sexual component. Waltz took the man's passport, tortured him, and held him there until the Italian man managed to escape more than 2 weeks later. Sources said upon his escape, the man ran into a traffic agent who called the police to the home. Officers arrested Waltz and allegedly found a trove of evidence at the rented out home. Sources says they turned up multiple Polaroid pictures of the victim being tortured and tied up. Investigators also reportedly recovered a gun and several torture items. Law enforcement sources say Waltz is a big-name cryptocurrency trader from Kentucky. Waltz is facing multiple charges, including kidnapping, assault, and unlawful imprisonment. A man spoke with our NBC station, WNBC, who witnessed Waltz being taken away by police. Two officers are being deemed heroes after their last-minute saving rescue that saved someone's life. That's ahead. WTVA 9 News at 6 continues.
I turned it down about an hour ago. It's just so bad here.
It's like, outside or something? Well, it's 78.
Yeah, I've been trying to get that down. It will not turn it on. You can try it again. Oh, good. It cranked. Yeah.
Kill.
So walking you guys through, because I see that one of you guys mentioned that hook does not look good. What we're seeing right now is primarily wind is weak. And what I mean by that is we're not seeing anywhere between like the 50 to 60 mile an hour gust that we'd primarily see tightening in that circulation. So yes, this would have the chance of forming broad rotation, but even that's far-fetched because that shear in this environment has already been eaten up. That the same ingredients that we saw earlier in the day aren't as strong as what they once were. What these are also having, we always talk about lightning output in regards to the energy of the storm. And if you see, I mean, strikes, let's focus on this primary area right here. We're talking about 12 lightning strikes in the last 10 minutes. So comparatively speaking, we were at quite a bit more an hour ago, quite a bit more even 2 hours ago. And so this atmosphere is just not as prime for this weather to develop and strengthen. Now I say that where we get some of these cells forming on the leading edge, this one moving towards Tuscaloosa County there in Alabama, this is one to watch for because it still has that lightning output and it still has the leading edge, so it's going to eat up into that energy. So that's one to pay attention to. These down south are ones to pay attention to, but yes, that S shape is what we talk about, but this S shape that we're seeing right here, not a concern for us. So fortunately, we should just have the wrap up of thunderstorms and then we're pretty calm for the next couple of hours. It's tornado possible tomorrow. With the movement of these storms, we don't expect tornadoes to form. So fortunately, I don't see I'm going to call it a non-zero tornado threat, meaning they're not expected, but a brief isolated one can't be ruled out, but we're just not seeing it with that movement. So fortunately, tornadoes aren't really on the radar, literally and figuratively speaking, tomorrow.
Speaking of heroes, check out this daring action of police in New Jersey who rushed to pull a driver from a vehicle stopped in the path of a speeding train. Police say the driver was impaired and unable to get out of the car on his own. So as the oncoming train scored blared, officers pulled him from the vehicle last minute. Again, mere moments before it was plowed into a speeding locomotive.
But honestly, great story that.
I know, when I watched that, I was like, wow. I know. Is there anything else that we need to know? We only have about 30 seconds left, so is there anything that we need to know going into tonight?
Clock's ticking on the next severe weather threat for the rest of our Memorial Day weekend. It's Sunday and Monday, both having their individual threats. We're talking about strong winds, heavy rainfall, and even a few large hailstones embedded within that. So, Jake, it's important to be so weather aware for the next couple of days, but also important to keep that rain gear around. Take a look for the next 7 days. Rain chance to linger all week long.
So, how about it? Anyway, hey, thanks for joining us for WTVA 9 News at 6. Look for more news tonight at 10.
Jake, you get mad at me for making memes out of you, but you're so memeable.
Who did?
Yes.
What did I do?
Not having a rain or umbrella.
Oh. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
After this, are we clear for the night? So, looking at the latest on models, what I do see is some more showers and thunderstorms forming overnight, but the atmosphere is not prime. So it's important you guys to go ahead and tune in at about 10 o'clock and we kind of set the scene of what to expect. I don't see anything between now and 10 o'clock that we need to be conscientious of or I keep using the radar reference, but literally keep it on our radar. But so that's why we're going to shut down stream until that 9, 10 o'clock hour whenever we start forecasting this a bit more, just because I don't see anything of imminent danger to us that we need to be keeping you guys aware of, and hopefully you guys can finally enjoy a bit of a break of hearing our voices. So make sure to tune in at 10 o'clock tonight. I'll pull this back up and we can answer some of your questions and walk through a bit of the forecast of what to expect for the rest of your Memorial Day weekend. But other than that, I hope you guys do have a great Memorial Day weekend. I hope that you can still enjoy it despite the rain chances. And again, I'm sorry about the rain chances. We could control it. Trust me, sunny skies every single day. But I'm going to wrap it up here. You guys have a fantastic evening.